Good morning. Welcome, everybody. This is LoreForged, the podcast for Ashes of Creation, and we are your hosts. My name is Jibbs, and I'm joined by Sunny.
I couldn't even be third. I had to be next. I had to be the first person introduced after you by default. We are unfortunately a person short, and this is a true tragedy because this, JB, is show 50.
This is show 50.
Can you believe that? And we are doing it without the triumvirate. We are missing the tallest and arguably most important part of this entire show. And that is the man known as Cash. Cash is, he's, what is those, the Budweiser? He's a real American hero.
Real American hero.
So he's out protecting his state, particularly, I think, the northern part of his state from being completely engulfed in flames. Yeah, it's all on fire. And so they're like, we need some real American heroes. And also, you don't have a choice. You have an hour. I hope you have your bag packed. And yeah, he does, because that's part of his gig. And so he just gets sent, and he'll be gone for, I don't know, what did he say? Like upwards of 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Deployment could be.
2 weeks.
Yeah. No choice. Just like, go.
Yeah.
And I called him because I had a question. I called him like a half hour after he told us this, and he answers. He's like, "Hey," and I hear in the background like, "Woo!" I'm like, Jesus! It's like you're already in the rig, lights and sirens going down a highway. I'm like, holy cow! No warning. Like, it's just that fast. So. Like I said in the pre-show, like the most important thing for him is to concentrate on what he's doing, keep his crew safe, do the job. Don't worry about us. We miss you to death, buddy. You're just so missed and so loved, and I can't believe that we're doing show 50 without you. I feel kind of terrible. Yeah. We might fudge the numbers.
We may just do 49 and a quarter.
Maybe this is 51. Maybe, and then we'll just rewind a little bit. I'm sure that he's going to want to talk about the Bard.
Oh,
I mean, obviously. So we might have to redo show 50 number wise. But yes, JB, how are you?
I'm good. Yes, to kind of go off you, Sonny, it definitely, Cash is dearly missed. And although yes, he's away. Thoughts and prayers for him, folks, because this is, as you saw, all the fires going on there are pretty gnarly, and we want our boy back safe and sound, most importantly. I am good, my friend. It has been a week. I think you and I both were talking before the show. We are both exhausted from our weeks of real lifing. Wonder if we get XP. Wonder if that's ever a real thing.
Oh, my God.
Like an invisible
I feel like
XP.
my health bar is like struggling. Yeah. Like in boxing games, I used to play a lot of boxing games. I love boxing. Like I'm a big fan of boxing history, all this boxing stuff. In boxing games, when you fight, you have like a health, like an energy bar.
Yeah.
But as the fight goes on and you get like beat up, it never goes back to like your max lowers. And I feel like my max has been lowered. So I ended up getting poison ivy like a month ago. And it just was like the weirdest poison ivy ever. And it just kept growing and growing despite me no longer being in the poison ivy. And it got worse and worse. And finally I went to the doctor and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but like I'm getting worried. And so they prescribed me a bunch of steroids, and it's fixing the poison ivy problem, but it is not allowing me to sleep. When I do sleep, I have crazy dreams. So I've slept like 2 hours in like, I feel like 4 days. And I'm starting to, like, I'm inside Cash's dragon eggs recipe. Like, I'm in the egg and I'm covered in sausage. And it's like, I don't like it. It's all of this stuff. And I'm coming off a 36 right into the show. So if I just go into a fever dream and start talking about how excited I was to see the summoner, you're just going to have to stop me. Like, hey. Just remember,
dial it back,
bring it back, take a break, reset,
right it back on the rails. There you go. Oh gosh, yeah, buddy. Well, you talking about the Bard, buddy. Do we have a show for our folks? This being episode 50, being a special episode, but also folks, by the way, thank you every one of you for here at LoreForged Live. We're doing this live on Twitch, but also for every single one of you who push play, listen to the show. We certainly do appreciate you. And all the love and comments, man. Like you guys in the comment section on YouTube, just amazing group of people. So thank you very much. But yeah, this episode is all about the bar development update. This was something that we've really been looking forward to. And truthfully, Sunny and I both being musicians was something that just kind of, emboldened the whole experience for us. It was a phenomenal thing. And so, Sunny, I think we're just going to jump right in here.
I think we have to.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much. I mean, you start talking about any one thing and it just leads into another and leads into another. So if there's any more preamble, we're just going to have to stop.
Yeah.
Because it's time. It's time to talk about the bard. Right. But we do have a couple things that we have to talk about before we even get to that, because they did lead off with a few very important things. JB, I'm just going to hammer the first one here.
Take it.
It was the elephant in the room. Everybody knew that they were going to talk about when the Alpha 2 was going to be coming out. And they did say when the Alpha 2 will be coming out. And that is October. And October is not in quarter 3. And there was much lamenting and wailing and gnashing of teeth. And various people immediately released YouTube videos calling it vaporware and a scam and delay and yada, 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 right? Like, I get it. It's gonna be a month off. And Steven, more or less said that this is what it is, right? Like, it's just not ready for you guys to play Alpha 2 and to test this thing. And we have to wait. What did you think about that, JB?
There was 1,000 voices that cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. A million voices, whatever it says. No, hey, look, I'm always going to be on board with the idea of do what you have to do to make it ready. If you have to delay, then delay. Like, folks were almost 10 years into this project? Just let it ride, man. Let it ride, let it cook, and let it simmer. And when it's ready, because that's what you want. Like right now we want it just because we're as a people, we're just impatient, right? But what we really want is a good experience. And what you really want is to get in there and play the game and it be enjoyable for you. And granted, this is an alpha, so it is testing. So there will be things that are broken anyway and things that will, are not going to be done. But they want to be able to, this is a big deal. This is a big deal for the game. It's a big deal for Intrepid. This is not a release of the full game, but this is one of the probably most hyped MMOs right now that's in development. And Alpha 1.
It's got to be number one, right? What else is there?
Yeah.
Throne and Liberty?
Not even close to this hype. No, it really isn't. And not close to this scale either, truthfully. And so, I'm fine with it. Take the, do we have to do? We're here, and your fans will support you. Do what you got to do.
Look at this comment. So Koala brings up a very interesting point. There are people that are legitimately concerned about a delay, even though it is a delay. And I consider it delay. Okay, we've dealt with delays. But Koala says, Chief Koala in the chat says, the only thing that bothers me is that it is an alpha. So a delay means that there's a fundamental issue, not just some small bugs. I think that is possibly true. That it could be a fundamental issue. It also could be a series of other things, though. What if they just don't have the feedback system working the way that they want? What if they, what if they don't have a major part that they want to start the testing with ready to test? When you're looking through the keyhole in this kind of stuff, it could be very difficult. Vane has another good example. He says, what if they just want to give the Alpha 1 testers more time because they're trying to figure that out? There's just a lot, right? I'm not saying that what you're saying is not true. I'm saying that it's possibly true, but there's a lot of other possibilities. Yeah. And that's the problem, is that when we're on the outside like this, it is truly, truly speculation. We just don't know why they have pushed it back. So you have to ask yourself, is this a big deal or is it not a big deal? I said earlier, and I know I said this, I don't know when I said it, but I know I said it, that they would definitely have to have it out in quarter 3 because they wouldn't want to risk the disappointment of having to say that it was delayed again to everybody. And here we are, and they're doing it. And now I'm having to say, like, okay, is that okay or not? I was very surprised. Me personally, I was very surprised that they didn't hit this timeline because I didn't think they had to tell us Q3. They just didn't have to. So why do it? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it weird that I'm not...
That's what surprises me the most.
Yeah. No, and I get that. Is it weird I'm not disappointed at all? Like, it's just like, okay, that's fine. I don't have a feeling. I really feel moot on this. Like, it just is what it is. You know?
It's just it's so weird to be this early in the development of a game and know this much about it. Like, we're so used to the black box at this stage that this is unheard of to be able to have this level of access. And so when you delay something like this, I mean, you saw in the chat, like, how many times they delayed Alpha 1, like, just over and over and over, right? For long periods of time. And, like, I've never been involved in an Alpha 1, let alone an Alpha 1 that, like, you could talk about, or an Alpha 2 with no NDA. Like, that's insanity. And so it's just untreaded ground for us. We don't know how to react when you push something off. But again, like, are we coming up on a year of doing this show in its current iteration?
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's another thing. We didn't even talk about it. In like 2 weeks, we have our 1 year anniversary.
Is that true?
It doesn't feel like it.
Oh my God. Cash is going to have to be back by then. We're going to really have
we're
to
not
start
doing it.
Some numbers.
Yeah, no, we will do. Someone said it earlier. Episode 49 and 3/4. Like
platform 49 and 3/4. Very nice. I think that when you've been doing this for a year and I've had no game to play, that them saying that the game that you thought you'd be able to play in 2 months is now going to be the game you will be able to play in 3 months. Okay. Right? Like, I'm kind of with you on it. Honestly, like, the only thing that I'm not personally disappointed, the only thing that surprises me is that they gave a date and then missed it. That's what surprises me. Like, why did you even bother giving the date? Like, how much pressure did you think you were under? You could have just not, or you could have said Q4 and then surprised us all and got it out in Q3. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough because I know that they're game developers, and I know that these things are difficult for them to time because there's a lot of moving parts. So I think that people mostly reacted pretty well to it. I know that most of the content creators reacted pretty well to it. Nobody in the content creation community that I expected to be reasonable was unreasonable.
Yeah.
Everybody that I thought is a reasonable content creator reacted reasonably to it. And so that really does say a lot to me.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, it'll be a good experience. It's funny because at the time it's coming out, because I'm going to be probably like taking a trip somewhere in there. But like, either way, like, it's going to be good overall. It's going to be good overall. Why don't you take them into the AMA?
Okay. So here's what they said. Steven said that we are going to have an AMA in 2 weeks on August 16th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. I don't think I'm working, so I'll probably live stream that one too, because that was a lot of fun. But oh my God, first of all, long stream. Long stream. I was not quite ready to live stream that thing for like almost 4 hours. I thought I was going to have to like change clothes in the middle of it because I was like hot and tired and sweaty. But we have a August 16th AMA, and in that AMA, they are going to provide us a roadmap to Alpha 2. They are going to give us the details on the whole thing and provide us really a look into what we're going to see and when hopefully we are going to see it, which is going to give us a pretty good look ahead for, I don't know, however long they say Alpha 2 will last. Now, I assume, JB, that these will be pretty generic mile markers, but it is kind of nice to have a roadmap. You ever do like a early access game where they show you the roadmap of where they want to be and what they want to introduce? It's nice.
Yeah. I think that this is kind of something that you said earlier where everything is kind of, what's the right word? Like on its territory we haven't been before. Mm-hmm. And so now that we are in this territory, interesting place to be. And I think it's really cool to see roadmaps. You know what's funny about roadmaps? You know my personal favorite, truthfully, aside from all the discussion and things that are going on? I like the art. The way that they look.
Roadmap?
Yeah.
The art of the roadmap itself?
Yeah.
That is so JB.
Yeah. Like I love it. Like Gray Sentinels, the guild, the roleplay guild, like they're doing their own. And
beautiful roadmap,
and
right?
I'm just like, oh, that's so well done. Like it doesn't matter what game. Like it could be Warcraft, it could be any game, a game I'm not even playing. Like
they're so optimistic
so
too, right?
Pretty.
Like,
yeah,
it's so pretty and optimistic. It's like, look at all the things. Look at the places we're going to. Look at all the places you'll go. it's just absolutely beautiful. I think that that's a cool move, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get it. You're disappointed. Tell you what, we're going to give you more information about like what this Alpha 2 is going to be. Because honestly, I thought we were just going to get the Alpha 2 dropped on us one day and have no earthly idea what their plan was. Yeah. Right? Like, like I've seen things where you're testing and they just say like, okay, now everybody stop. We're shutting it down in 5 minutes. And you're like, okay. And then they're like, we'll tell you when we turn it back on. Okay. So you're like, I guess I'll go make a sandwich.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And it seems like now, you're going to get a little more behind the scenes and a little more understanding of what the general idea is. And there might be some stuff on that roadmap where we're like, oh, like we're going to check this biome out at around this phase of things. I doubt you're going to get hard dates. I don't expect that.
I don't want hard dates. Forget that.
No. Just why? Right. Yeah. Like we don't need them.
No.
So it'll be something where we're able to see generally what they want to accomplish, the things that they want to test, and how they want to get there, and in what order. And frankly, we all know that we are going to take Alpha 2 into eternity. Alpha 2 is going to be something that just goes on until, they stop publicly testing the game. Yeah. I guess, yeah. Right? Like it's going to be out during full launch as the public test realm. So that roadmap might just continue to evolve. It'll be like what's the Rand McNally roadmap into forever, for Ashes of Creation.
Right.
I'm excited. I really think that the roadmap idea was a very cool sort of olive branch for the delay on that. Oh yeah, that was a good move. That was a good PR move.
Because I know it's going to be pretty, and I can't wait to look at it, Sunny.
Everybody loves a good roadmap.
Everybody loves a good roadmap. That's true. That is true. All right, so from there they moved into the Almighty Bard showcase, and Sunny, I don't know like how we move through this. Maybe by like,
man, I want to show you.
Like, do you have notes? Like, oh, look at you.
Handwritten. I call this my analog recollection device.
Yeah. A pen.
Yep. And I just started taking notes. Like at first I was taking notes on like Notepad on my screen and everything. And then I just was like, oh my God, it's like I got like papers. I'm like Charlie when he's on the whiteboard and he's like, his hair is all crazy. And he's talking. He's like, and then they're going to do this. And I'm like, oh my God. Here's the first thing I'm going to say. So this is where we can start. Okay. Because the first thing I started doing was, okay, no, I have to start with the first thing you saw on the screen. JB, we saw a dwarf on the screen.
Dude, when I saw that dwarf, I knew immediately. All I saw was a giant shield because you can't see the dwarf.
It's a shield. That's true. It's a box shield just there.
Yeah. And I knew. Like, I'm like, oh, my heart started having palpitations, started sweating, maybe a slight heavy breath. And I'm like, oh, it's a dwarf. It's a dwarf.
That wasn't a Nakua dwarf, I don't think.
No, it wasn't. And you know what? I'm glad it wasn't. Those really need a big reveal for like, like for an update, like presence. Because they're so unique and so cool, and we haven't seen them yet. And I'm just like, just give them due justice, like, because they're amazing, you know, like they're so unique.
I like Cheryl's comment that says, I love that the shield doesn't automatically scale to the character size. So it's not like you don't get like a dwarf size shield. You get a shield and a dwarf sized dwarf.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine a tank that's a dwarf and carrying a tower shield, and you're trying to stealth through a dungeon, and Craig's back there dragging it because it's scraping on the ground trying to be stealthy,
bumping into the wall. It's like, Craig, you're killing me.
Oh gosh, that's hilarious.
I've saw a couple comments that I really, really enjoyed. So I did a live stream of the stream, and like I said, it was like 4 hours, and it was a lot. But some of the comments on there were about dwarves cheating in PvP and references to Oddjob from GoldenEye. That you had to like aim down to kill Oddjob, because you could like run with your gun, and Oddjob would be like this height, and your gun would be this height. This is early N64 gaming for those of you who were born in 2005.
Good times. That's what that was. Good times.
Very, very good times.
Yeah, so we got to see the dwarf right off the bat. You also saw some Vec, some Orc, some Kalar races were shown.
Yep.
I mean, it was just like
right off the gate.
Just
right
off. It was a banger right off the gate. Like it could have. We could have had an AMA right here for maybe 10 minutes and just showcasing this, and we would have had a whole episode to talk about it.
It was cool to just have that, and they've done this before, and they're very good at it, right? Like they know how to open these things up, and I didn't realize this. I've sort of come to learn more about their behind the scenes workings a little bit just through talking to various people. You know, there are some people in the gaming world inside Intrepid that like to visit other podcasts, not like on the podcast, but they'll show up in the chat. Guys like Planendorf and there's a few others that will pop up, and they talk about things and how important these development updates are, to the point where they're dealing with cinematics, they're dealing with like production, they're very orchestrated events.
Right.
And that is, first of all, the coolest, because like we are inherently consuming it, and all you're doing is making a better product for us to then consume and then talk about. So it's like the best thing ever for a show that's talking about a game in development. The fact that you guys care enough to make these things cool, but like you really start to like look at it and say like, this was a super well orchestrated thing. They're giving us nuggets all the time. And this time it was a dwarf. The dwarf didn't have anything to do with the bard.
No,
nothing.
No.
And the first thing you saw was this shield. You're like, there's a dwarf behind there. And everyone freaked out in the first 10 seconds.
Yeah. It was
nothing to do with the bard.
Yeah. You know, the next thing I saw, and I know we'll talk about it later, big old spell tome that was right there.
Oh,
that's going to be I know we should hold on that. We got a lot.
Well, we're going to talk about that, but you're right. Yeah. Like you couldn't ignore that, right? No. You're like, dwarf, floating book. Big old book too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Big old book. Well, we'll have to talk about the size of that book in a little bit.
For sure.
Okay. So next we get into the Bard Showcase, and the first category, because I mean, we're not going to go over this thing. It was a long stream. We can't go point by point on this. Otherwise we will have a 3.5 hour show, which is not what we're looking to do. But what I will say is this. A lot of people had a lot of questions, myself leading the charge, on what the Bard's game style will be. What is the Bard going to be?
Yeah.
Is the Bard going to be a healer, an off healer, a tank, a support character, a rogue, like a mage? Like, what is the Bard going to be? There's a lot of different ways to make a Bard. And I started keeping track here of like what kind of skills fit into what kind of categories. And my first category is buffs. There's a lot of buffs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The Bard is a support character that makes a group a better group.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
I mean, like, I can't summarize the bard any more than that.
Yeah, that's well said. You have different types of abilities. You know, you talk about and those come in the form, and a lot of those buffs come in the form of the melodies. So the melodies are large area channeled abilities that will give, you know, boost to your group members and people who walk in within range of those things. And what I thought was really cool about those, Sunny, was the fact that while you're casting a melody, you can also keep doing other abilities. Like, it doesn't stop you from continuing your gameplay experience.
Man, there was just so many things like that they just kept dropping these nuggets on us over and over and over that that shocked me. But probably the biggest cool factor for me was when they said that they were really concerned about the melodies that were being played, like the actual musical audio. And again, like you said, we're band people, right? Like we're musicians. We understand what the word atonal means, right? It's not good. And they were really concerned about the tonality of the bard's music when viewed in the context of the background music of the game.
Yeah.
They did not want that to be something that, like, you could easily do it, right? You could easily just say, like, this is the bard's music. When you hit the bard button X, then this music plays. Doesn't matter where in the world you are. It doesn't matter what is happening in the background music. It just is, right? That's the easy answer. The hard answer is we have to be concerned about all of the other music to make sure that this doesn't create an unpleasant experience.
Yep.
And that blew my gourd.
Right.
I could not believe that the level of cognizant, like, just awareness of the game player's musical experience when dealing with the class of the bard. And so I was just so very excited for that. I struggle a little bit because I'm a solo game player. Like, I don't mean to be, I just kind of am. I just turn out that way, right? Like, I just kind of always have.
Yeah.
Which is why typically I gravitate towards rogues. I love the ability to win a 1v1 fight. That's kind of where I balance my PvP gameplay. I know it's not fair. I know the game isn't balanced like that, right? I know that the overall game is not balanced 1v1. I get it. But I want to be balanced 1v1. I want to know that when I get cornered or when I'm in a battleground or something like that, and it's 1v1, that I will win 60% of those fights at least.
Right.
I want to feel like I can hold my own at worst against anyone and win more than I lose. And I wanted the bard to be that. And I don't think it's that.
You know what?
Unless you can spec that bard in a way that they really didn't show. Like, I think the bard is a real support large group class.
I think you, okay, I had that same question. I had that same feeling, and I had that same question. I answered myself because I thought, well, wait a minute. They did say specifically that you can spec this for damage, but we didn't see it. You're right. We didn't see it. We did. I think we saw some pieces of that puzzle. One of those being the dances, which are another type of ability they do. So the abilities with shorter range but powerful effects. I think you'll probably see a lot of that through dances. And of course, you know, they have CC that's, you know, built in as well. And they talked about the different kinds of CC, but like, and by the way, diminishing returns, that's now in the game.
Very cool.
I'm so glad that's there. That's so
yeah.
Good. But
I don't love it as the bard, but like, I'll like it as the people that are fighting against the bard. That's for sure. Because boy, that thing looks like it could lock you down in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there's definitely going to be, because that was my next question. So while I was seeing, oh gosh, we got to get to the spellbook at some point. Holy cow, we're 30 minutes in. You know, for me, it's like,
this is the problem with this one, right?
This is the problem.
Massive.
We could go
update.
for hours.
Yeah.
The bard for me was a very big experience because of the spellbook that brought in the portions of the gameplay that coincided with the class itself, with the bard class itself. And that was a concern for me as well, was when I'm watching this class, in the back of my mind the whole time, Sunny, was, okay, how can I do this solo? How does this play solo? How does this fare solo?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is something I think that we don't know yet. I mean, of course, any if Steven or somebody, another dev was to chime in, that we would know more, but we don't know it yet. And I know that we will. So it's up in the air.
Prevailing wisdom has been that you can spec these kinds of characters in different ways to be creative.
Sure.
I get it. Now, I will also say that not all of these characters will do everything as well as the others.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you're just not going to be able to tank as well as tank, I assume. Okay. You're not going to be able to do single target damage maybe as well as ranger, if you're speccing out a ranger correctly. I get it, right? So Bard may not be able to be a duelist as well as rogue. Just might not be in the cards for me.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, augments. Bard looks like a very strong augment, like a secondary.
Yeah.
Because, man, the kit that Bard had was nuts. And this is where I'm going to transition into dances and the music and leading up to the saga, the ultimate ability.
How cool was
that
that?
it had.
Yeah.
The way, JB, as a lore person, I want you to talk for just a second about how you felt when you found that the abilities of the Bard led up to an ultimate ability that it itself had a story built in that then drove the animation of the ability.
Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah. I mean, it really was.
I've never seen that.
I talk about original, right? And like that was, one thing that they talked about with the Bard was they wanted it to be more than just music. It kind of wanted to dive into that they were telling a story, like they were telling,
Yes.
And the fact that they did that, I just thought, like that is just cool. Like, it's like something you throw on a wall. It's like a dart on a wall. Like,
Yes.
what if we did this?
Right. What if the animations for the ability had a story behind them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You're playing a bard. And
Yeah.
a bard is a storyteller. That's the other cool thing I thought too, was they didn't just make the bard a musician. Like, I like musicians, right? Musicians are awesome.
Yeah.
But a bard is more than a musician. A bard is all of it. A bard is like the dude that rolls into town and does it all. He tells stories. He plays some music. He does all of the stuff. Like, it's like the Witcher sort of thing where Yaskier or Dandelion or whoever you want to call him drives me crazy, by the way. He comes in and he does it all, right? Like, when he's not playing his lute, he's telling a story. It's just this rolling entertainer that does everything. And that I thought was really cool. That dragon with the castle. And I know that they didn't have the animation entirely done, but they had like a 2D pop-up book. They really made a big deal of like the pop-up book being the story and the dragon like destroyed the castle in the pop-up book. I'm like, this is wall of crazy type stuff. And it was so cool to see a bard the way that we have seen, the way that we remember bards, even though we probably, like, if we went back in time and actually lived that moment again, it wouldn't be as cool because you always remember things better. But like, man, I just thought like, this is how a bard is supposed to be. Right. It was full on.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That having that added element of story, I thought was really cool. I'm going to kind of take a slight left turn here on this, because one thing I thought that was very cool about the bard that was different from all the other classes I've seen. Granted, I'm sure someone's going to tell me in chat immediately there's some in other classes like this, but I don't recall it because I'll forget more about this game than I'll ever remember. But the skill tree system, how their skill tree is built, it's not a tree, it's like tiered. So
yeah, it felt different, didn't it?
Yeah, so you had to place a certain amount of points to unlock the next tier. And I like that. I like that level. It feels and I don't mean this derogatory, it feels simple, but it still feels like it allows for a lot of depth and choice, and it's different. And I thought it was just really cool.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the subtle things, and that's another point with this development update, was that it was just chock full with all sorts of things. And you know, Daedric says they're probably going to do that with all the classes, and they might. I like that feel though. You know, I like the way that you can do that stuff, and I really, really do like having a lot of options for all of these characters. I want to be able to play the character that I want to play.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Like, this is different from the you can do everything with everyone, right? I don't want to pick a tank and then, you know, have that tank be as good as any one of the other 7 major types at all of the things that they're good at. That's not what we're looking for.
Right.
We want some flexibility though, and
Right.
and I think that they're going to give that. All right, so one of the things, this is gonna be the last thing that we talk about before the spellbook, because it leads right into the spellbook, was the animations.
Oh my gosh.
So the animations started with basically the dances, right? Like different dances depending on the type of skill that was being shown that matched the mood and the flavor. Like when he was doing like heals and stuff, it was more flowy. When he was doing discord type of stuff, it was more angular. And when he was angry, he was like getting after it. Like, I loved it. I thought the animations looked super fluid.
Yeah, it was cool. My favorite part was the dances, how they were on beat and on time with the music that was being played. Like that to me was chef's kiss. Like, just look, preface this by saying there was a lot of chef's kiss for me with this class.
There was a few.
This is the second one. You know, the fact that he was dancing on time, I'm like, yes, someone who understands music, someone who gets it. Thank you. Like, it was just,
Yeah.
it was, because, you know, other games, and it's fine. Like, that's what we expect, is the fact that it's, you know, just animations and, you know, nothing's on time. It just looks cool, and we're gamers and we love it, right?
You hit the button, the animation starts at exactly that second and does whatever. It is an isolated thing that is just playing.
Right. And, well, Ash is like, okay, cool, so let's up it and let's put everything in time. I'm just like, oh, this is,
Yeah. One of the animations that had nothing to do with the dances that I had never seen before, that I thought was wild, was the escape, the like slide.
Oh, yeah.
That he was able to do. And then he turned a corner with it.
Yes.
I freaked out.
Yeah.
To have an escape that you go zoom and then be able to maneuver it. I was like, the sliding, turning, you could do a complete hook and come back the way you were coming inside of that. I was like, oh man, can you imagine sliding around a corner and breaking line of sight with something like that in a PvP match?
How fun would that be? You know,
some of that stuff just nuts. That one was one of my favorite early ones, and that had nothing to do really with like all of the other like amazing dance stuff that they did.
Yeah.
But when we're getting into animations, the next big elephant in the room was that spell book.
Oh,
what did you think about the spell book?
Okay, so here's the deal. For a very, 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 very long time, I have had my eye on that spell book. Typically, because I think it was listed under the wiki as spell tome, but I know the moment that I saw it, I'm just like, I can't wait to see this, because I just thought it was so cool. And I always have loved whenever you see characters, and maybe they're a caster of some type, and they're carrying a tome, whether it's, you know, on their belt, it's in their hands, it's not an afterthought. And so when I saw the spell tome in the game, I'm going to be honest, I loved everything about it. I loved the size. I know a lot of folks do not care so much for the size. I know we'll probably have a fun discussion on that, but that was by design. You heard that from Steven, how they could have went with something smaller, but they wanted something bigger, something a little bit more impressionable, it sounded like. And I'm down for it. Like, I really liked it. The animations that you saw coming from it, how the focus shifted from the character to the tome itself, with all the spells coming out of it and the pages flipping. Sunny, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to screenshot that book and zoom in and see if there's any Easter eggs. I'm that person that does that.
I was going to say LoreForged over and over.
No, not even close. But I just want to see the Easter eggs.
It's going to say Varen's Chef. It's a recipe book. It's going to be Cash's recipes in there.
Oh gosh, that's hilarious. Yes, I could
3
gush.
eggs, 1 pinch of sugar.
Oh man, dude. Yeah, and chat brings up a dwarf with a spell book will be fun. Yeah, because the spell book's gonna be as big as him.
All book, no dwarf.
And you know what? I love it. I love it. I could gush forever. But what did you think about it?
Well, it's an interesting question about like the dwarf, right? Because we just said that the dwarf was not matched to the shield, and we liked that. We liked that the shield was the shield, and the dwarf, was just behind a giant shield because it was a regular sized shield and it was a dwarf sized dwarf. So it does make me wonder, like, is the book matched at all to the size of the character? Like, what is that book going to look like with a dwarf? I don't think it is matched. I think that book is just the book, and that's the size of book you get. I would be okay with reducing the size of the book by like 10 to 20%, probably, like a fifth. You could just shrink it down just a little bit.
I don't know, man. Sonny, come on, keep it like backpack size. It's amazing.
I will say this. I don't want it any more than that, right? Like, I don't want it to be like a normal size book. Like, it's a tome. It's like you said. And it just made me think of like the wizards that open up the tome, and the books are so unwieldy huge that you just wonder, like, how precious was the writing that they had to write in this thing? And it's like a full page. Like, what if you screw something up? You're just like, rip.
Yeah, right.
It's like a bed sheet you just have to rip out of there. I did love that. I really liked the animation within the book, though.
Yeah.
Like the way that the book reacted, and then what you were doing with it. A lot of the stuff, like the bard throwing notes and stuff, was very cool. Very cool. But the book doing book stuff was also very cool. I think that a lot of people had the question of, is the book part of the bard? And the answer is no. The book is just a book. The book is a weapon, and the bard happened to have that weapon equipped, much like, I assume, many classes could equip the book. Mage, almost for sure, right?
Yeah.
I would be surprised, maybe. I guess I'd be a little surprised if like all the classes could equip all the weapons.
That's what they said. That? Yeah, you can use all
the classes can equip all the weapons.
Yep.
Okay. All classes can use all weapons. Well, there you go. So then, like, everybody could have the book, and probably not the most effective weapon for everybody for obvious reasons, but it is. It was cool to be able to see their take on a tome, because how many games have you played where you've had a two-handed sword or a two-handed axe, like a big hammer? Like, you just a million, right? Like, every MMO you've ever played had a two-handed sword. How cool can you make a two-handed sword? Well, we've tried for the last 25 years to make cool two-handed swords, but you haven't seen like a tome like this that's animated. Oh, one other thing. That was the first weapon that was individually animated outside of the character.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a thing. So when they took that tome and they created this tome to basically be a standalone thing, and it is separated mechanically from the character itself.
Right.
Which I thought was like really a level of dedication. They didn't just put a book in a character's hand. They made this thing its own thing.
Right. Yeah, and I love the way that it moved, that it wasn't, I think they called it wasn't connected to the player's socket. Like, it had its own movement. So when he went left, the book leaned to the left. It just looked really good. It looked really, really good. And, overall, like, it just feels like the bard. And I remember you were streaming, and I I think I said this in there. The Bard to me feels like a step back in time, like
Yes.
tabletop brought to life. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like current MMO gaming. It feels like a love letter to classic tabletop RPG.
And like and lore kind of, right? Like the lore of a bard. Like there's been a lot of stuff that has not been gameplay related or even tabletop related that has evolved the way that bards are viewed. And like frankly, the D&D movie with Chris Pine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a major motion picture featuring a bard.
Yeah.
Okay? There hasn't been a lot of those. And it was hugely successful and incredibly well done, in my opinion. It was funny. It was on point. It was great. And it was a bard. And so, like, you can't discount that as far as the influence that that has on the bard. And so when we saw the bard in here, like, you could get, you know, you can understand where the bard has come and where it has evolved from. Yeah. And like you said, it was, you know, it was really a love letter to the old tabletop bard and just the concept of what a bard is and what a bard should be. So just kind of loved a lot about it. And the only thing that worries me is that it's just not for me.
I hold that. You know what, Sunny? Hold that though. Don't pass judgment on that yet. I think it's
love for it to be me though.
Yeah, I think it could be for you. You know, it has a ton of CC. You know, that was something we didn't even mention. It has movement CC, which
the
is
kit, right?
Yeah, like you have snare, root, chill, freeze. For hard CC, you have incapacitate, trip, and stun. And then activation CC, you have silence, disarm. Not to mention all the other stuff that they're talking about adding in the future. Like this is how about CC
this?
magnet.
And we won't even get a chance to talk about this, but when you promote things like demoralize, you promote it into humiliate.
Yeah.
Like you're taking abilities and your ability gets cast and they're demoralized, and then you double down because you're a bard and you're witty and you make them feel even worse.
Yeah,
so
let them know.
Humiliated. and I was like, oh, that's cool. So it's like stacking abilities change the ability.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So like, yeah, maybe that's the answer, right? Maybe that it's not, the bard is not like your rogue single target damage type of fighter, but it's a single kiting stun lock sort of duelist.
Yeah. And so it's like it offers a couple things. Number one, you know, that it will affect your buffs will affect through walls. It also affects it vertically. So verticality is a big thing with the bard. And then you combine that with the spellbook, which is basically your ranged AoE weapon. You could make an AoE based bard. You know, like if you really wanted to focus on that sort of thing.
I think so. I think that there was a lot of flexibility in what they in what the bard brought to the table. I just had it in my brain what I was going to ask you about this, and it has completely escaped because there's just so many things involved in this. I remember it. Okay, this was a big question for me, and I've had conversations with a lot of people in our Discord, in our LoreForged community. By the way, we have a Discord. LoreForged.com will take you to our Discord, and it's a lovely community filled with all sorts of engaged people, including our guild. The conversation and the question that I had revolved around this. Do you think that a lot of people will play bards? That is question one. Do you think that a lot of people will main a bard? And then question two is, if you're making a party, do you think that bard is a class that you feel like you would have to have? Like bard is an included class in the vast majority of groups that are made.
I think, okay, so your first question,
Step one.
Yep.
Do a lot of people play bard as a main?
No. I think a lot of people try bard. I think this is going to be a class that everyone's going to want to try at some point.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
You know, like I think you'll see more people trying than actually sticking with the class, but I don't want to detract from, take away from the class, because I do think you're going to see a large portion of players playing this class. Particularly those of us, like you, myself, and all the other gamers who are here that have been around for a while, to see this class return is a big deal. You know, this is something that we haven't really been able to experience in quite some time. And in this way, the way that it's being done. So I think that it's going to attract a lot of players. And to answer your second question, yes, you need a bard. I would almost go as far as to say full group is, didn't they say full group is 8?
I think it's 8.
Yeah.
I think 8 is our number.
I'm
here,
thinking
right?
2 bards. I'm not thinking.
Whoa.
I'm thinking 2 bards because your buffs can stack as long as they're not the same buff. Your buffs can stack. So,
yeah, and there's enough buffs in the bard kit that you could have like 2 almost completely different bards.
Exactly.
It's buffing.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about a 2 bard party. I was kind of just worried about a 1 bard party. But I think I thought that more people would play bard, and then over the last few days, I've sort of come around to it. One thing I will say that will, I think, detract people from playing bard is it looks incredibly high skill.
It does. Yeah.
I think that the people that play bard well are going to be, I mean, they're going to be extremely good at it. The skill cap on bard looks very, very high for your ability to move around and do the right things and weave. And holy God, what was it? Gambit. Gambit's the most powerful ability that bard has. It's like hands down, no question in my mind. The ability for that bard to single-handedly save the group. And it happened multiple times where they just swap life. The bard just says like, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
He gives like, it was like something crazy. Like I think the cap was like 75 or 80% of the bard's health. He could just switch.
Yep.
And holy smokes, was that powerful. That may get nerfed. I'm not one of those guys that like gets all itchy about like, wow, 12% is clearly too much. You need to dial it down to 11.5%. Okay. Like I don't know what they're thinking. 11.5% should be exactly.
Repeating, of course.
Repeating, of course. No, like I don't care. Like numbers get tweaked all the time, but like that one was like, holy God, that is crazy important.
It really is
crazy important.
It really is. There's a couple things on that note. Number one, a bard and your cleric are going to be very, very good friends, and they're going to be communicating and talking throughout whatever content they're working through or fight they're working through, simply because of the fact that they have Gambit. So my holy priest, when I was playing healer, Sunny, I don't even know if I told you this, I wanted to reach 1800 rating in arena with a healer. I had never done it. I'd never healed before in my life, actually. So, and I did it on a holy priest. Got to 1800 and I stopped. I have not done another arena since then. I hit the arena, I hit the goal, I'm done. Point is that holy priest had that ability. And I can tell you from, there's so many matches I've won because of that ability.
Just the one. Right?
That one ability set up because the people that are fighting, they're focused on the DPS, right? Oftentimes people get tunnel vision, you know, and so that ability alone is such a game changer. And the fact they gave it to the bard and they didn't give it to the cleric, I love that, because then it really brings in value to having a bard that's in there that's just working, you know, synergizing really, really well with your cleric. It's just a win.
Katie has brought up a really good point about it, though, that when you make that flip, that the person who gets the low end of that trade has the red card above them. By the way, Gambit with the cards, solid.
That was a nice nod. Yeah.
That was nice. That was nice. I don't know if they're doing that on purpose, but I like that.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
You end up with the red card for the guy that's in trouble and the gold card for the person that gets the boost. So, man, if you're not looking for that bard to all of a sudden fly a red card above them and immediately call out the trade, then you're not doing it right in PvP. Because once you see that gambit go off, you have to kill that bard.
Yeah.
Like, that's it, right?
Yeah. But honestly, you know what? Truthfully, you would be shocked how many people don't recognize that. And then another fun strategy, Sunny, is taking someone's life to give you yourself life. So that way you can continue offering what needs to be offered while you're working with your cleric who heals them right back up.
Oh, the reverse gambit?
It's the reverse gambit, and it works, and it's a good strategy when used properly. Like this ability is such a big thing. And really, I can't stress enough, they're going to have to communicate with the cleric. Like be talking that out to really maximize those things, because we know that the bard overall is a slower healer. It's not the cleric. The cleric is the healer of healers in this game. And so there's going to be a lot of communication. And
that was specified, right? Like they said that, and I thought this was cool. This was kind of a me thing. I don't know if this is entirely true. By the way, I think I might have got it bad. A few people, I think I might have got it backwards. The gold card goes to the low health person, which I think seems backwards to me. But like apparently the red card goes to the high health person. I don't know why that's true. But if they say it's true, they're probably right. Like we all watched it a million times. But man, he was flipping cards all over the place. I think that, God, now I've lost it again. This is twice in one show. I am on steroids. I'm having difficulty. I haven't slept in forever. I can't even.
It's all right. I got you, buddy. I got you.
Okay.
What did you think of the group gameplay that was going on when they were in that area? Which, by the way, you know what? Before we even go there, we need to talk about the zone. That was a new zone. It was a new zone. And
still the Riverlands.
Yeah, it's still the Riverlands. Very much so. It was the Darrigal family estate. And so this family used to live there prior to leaving Vera. And the area was known for a pure, like, essential water. And I don't know what this word was, but it was actually included in the quest text. Sunny? Fexundi? I don't know what this is. Fexunity? I don't know. I'm like, who put this?
Just let that one go.
I thought, it was funny. I read that and I'm like, why is this in the quest text? Like, people will know what that word is. So anyway, they were a rich family, and then after they returned back to Vera after the portals opened, humans started populating the area, and now goblins rule the area, and they're practicing necromancy and raising the farmhands, Sonny.
Raising the farmhands.
We saw skeletons for the first time in that location.
Did you see that some of the skeletons will just come back after you kill them?
Yes. What the heck, man?
I thought that was cool. By the way, I remembered the thing that I was going to try to say, and I feel bad for that. Sticano has just joined the group here. Sticano was one of the other many people that was watching this.
My man.
What I was going to say was they were very specific, and they said that if you are a bard, you are probably going to want a tank. But if you are a cleric healer, you might not need one. And so they said that thing to us, which was, is the bard as good a healer as the cleric? And the answer is no. That the bard is not as good a healer as a cleric, which is why you probably should supplement a bard with a tank. And so that was kind of cool to sort of answer your question. With regards to the new zone, I loved the story that came with it. I thought it was cool. I love the architecture that they're putting into a lot of these places. And I know that they were trying really, really hard for the lighting to be right. I felt like the lighting was a little dark in some of the inside places. And it was too extreme when compared with the abilities that were going off. I got a little bit of Wildstar in me there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got a little disco power Wildstar ability showcase going on.
Laser light show
with the bunnies and the all of it, and the kabooms and the el kabongs happening. And Steven did address that. He did say that, like, yes, the rave sticks are back. That, like, look, lighting is actively being worked on, like, right now. And so some of those things, it made a lot more sense in the ambient light of outside.
Right.
Everything looked better in the ambient light of outside. On the inside, things struggled a little bit. And then, unfortunately, they had an issue with the sound where, as you were watching the stream, the sound, they took it down, actually. So you had to be one of the people that were watching it live, like Sticano and I were streaming this live, and the sound was difficult. It was too much. There was too much going on, and it was competing, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
And they took that down. They said that, not only was that something that they're actively working on, but that particular feed wasn't what was appropriate for what was actually happening. So
Right. It's funny you say that. I was watching the YouTube stream or the YouTube premiere, so I could watch the higher definition of the video, and I was like 30 minutes behind the live feed of it because I had went back and I had stepped away, a couple times.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm watching it, and then it just goes black. And I'm like, well, where'd it go? Where'd it go? And so I hit refresh. This video's not available. I went,
They took it down.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So they re-uploaded to get that fixed. I didn't know that at the time. So for the longest time, I actually hadn't seen the entirety of the stream or that video portion. So I went back and watched it, and I'm glad I did because we got to see the elites system for the first time in the game, which was really cool. You remember that? Star rank represents greater difficulty, 1 star, 2 stars, etc. Thought that was pretty cool to see that.
Just so much, right?
It was a big one,
I
man.
mean, we just don't have a show that can cover all of these things in detail, which is why I wanted to ask some like bigger picture things. Like just talking a little bit about the group play. I thought that this was one of the best examples that we've seen in how a group dynamic works together.
Yeah.
And it was hard because there's a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
And the visual effects, and you're watching the bard for the first time. You don't really know what the bard's doing. You kind of have an idea now, and you're watching him do all the things and layer them on top, which is why I immediately said, like, this is a high skill thing. Because, man, Bucky was doing work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Keeping everybody alive. Meanwhile, Steven is just meandering into, like, goblin holes and just inviting the whole family out. Like, no, we're fine. Come on out.
We're
Join the
fine.
party.
Everything's fine. Oh, yeah. No, it was great to see the gameplay of the Bard and how it kind of just jived with the other classes. Sunny, it's starting to feel like you're starting to see this game, like from a group standpoint, come together.
I agree. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with the group thing. Like, I thought that for people that are really hardcore into dissecting this stuff, that if you look at this particular dev update, that you can really see stuff happening. You can see a full group interacting in a manner that looks like it will be consistent with what we will actually experience as players playing this game.
Right.
That one really, that was big group play against minor bosses.
Right.
It was cool to see that kind of interaction. There was a lot going on.
There's a lot to unpack, and we're not done unpacking it. That I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. We've got a lot, especially when Junior gets back. Then we're back in it again.
We're gonna have to get his thoughts on it because God knows, like I'm doing the stream, right?
Yeah.
And I got my phone, and it is just.
Sorry about that.
Just
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry.
Just rolling across my desk as I'm trying to do this thing. You're all excited about everything. I'm like,
yeah. Sorry.
so much stuff though, right? Like, and then at the very end of the whole thing, they unload some art on us, and they show us the dragon. Do you want to talk about the Firebrand dragon?
Sure. Yeah. So, at the end, before that, so we've got to see some in concept art, which was really cool. That's something that we're very fond of. It's no secret at LoreForged. And so seeing that, like that tavern-esque inn concept art was very cool.
Oh,
yeah.
So good, right? Like, I love that we're seeing a lot of this stuff. I understand that it's mostly Riverlands. I understand that it's mostly human. I understand that it's mostly like medieval and European. But like, this is kind of our shtick, right? Like, the Sleepy Owl Tavern looks like this tavern.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see that kind of stuff. And just like how similar their thought process is to my mind and your mind and Cash's mind about how like that kind of stuff should feel and should look to some of those things. I love that we're seeing the other races in the game. I love that we're seeing Vec. I love that we're seeing, dwarves now. I love that we've seen Renkai now a number of times. And it will be very cool when we get to the point where we are able to see those cultures evolve architecturally. I think that that's kind of the next level of where hopefully Alpha 2 takes us and where we can see some of that roadmap.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. If
Right.
one of those paths on the roadmap was like Vec Homeland, right?
Yeah.
All Vec architecture in this phase.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. And you talk Alpha 2 and you mentioned Firebrand, the dragon, and that art, that concept art that we got to see of that dragon, he's going to be a big presence in A2. He's one of the bosses that you will fight. And I got to tell you, when you see concept art and that dude, it was as big as he was, and you saw granted it's concept art, but it's still like it gives you scale. And then you see the humans or whatever race it was, I'm sorry, it's standing next to him, looking up at him. It's just like, whoa, this is going to be a legit fight. And that's when I think
It's
it gets
looking around the corner.
Yeah.
It gave me like big time, Smog. Type of feel,
instantly, right? Yeah. All right. So overall, Sunny. Okay, you know where we're going.
How many owls?
How many owls?
Tankards?
Yeah, how many tankards? How many drinks? Out of 10. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, man. Holy cow. High.
Oh.
I'm gonna rate this one high. Now, like my own personal disappointments for it, maybe not being something that I saw a lot of solo play viability for. That's a personal thing, okay? And I'm not gonna factor that into it because that I don't think is fair. That's me trying to do something maybe like square peg in a round hole sort of situation. The reveal itself and the update itself is a 9 out of 10 for me, which is as high as I've given anything. They had some hiccups with it. There was a lot going on, but I mean, just overall the level of like, this is the character, this is what we want it to be, and we want you to like understand not just what we're showing you, but we want you to understand the intent and the feel behind what it is that we are actually attempting to get to. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like a very feel based thing. And some of it was just like so mind blowing that I might even have to just up it to a 9.5. Like I probably had a jaw-dropping moment like 4 or 5 times during that stream that I haven't had in any other ones. I've been impressed with other ones. Other ones have gotten high scores from me, but I haven't had like moments like when I saw the escape, the slide, turn the corner, or when I heard him say that the music should mix with the background of the zone and then have the dance land perfectly as he's moving, animating it correctly. Like, okay, 9.5. Like that's the highest score that I've given any single update so far. And it might not even be a class that I main, although it very well might. So 9.5, man.
That's high for you. I think that you're going to give that a solid run. Somehow I think Bard's going to be incorporated in your class, whether it's an augment or it's your main. I really think that this comes.
I think so many people are going to augment like secondary Bard.
I don't blame them.
think it's going to be. I think that one might be number 1.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I mean, the added buffs that
So many buffs.
Yeah, I mean, like to some extent, those buffs will come over in the augment system. So, yeah, this for me is a 10 out of 10. I loved what we saw. We saw the lighting update. You saw. Of course, the first time the skeleton NPCs were shown, the spellbook reveal, and the bard, of course. I mean, and of course the dwarves were back. I mean, it was just top to bottom.
It was all of them, right? Like I mentioned your name like a dozen times in the first 20 minutes. I was like, oh Jesus, this is like it's all of it, right?
Like I'll be honest. There's a real part of me that has been kind of wavering on whether or not I'm going to roll a Dunir dwarf. But then when you saw them running and you saw their size, and some people are like, "Oh, they're too small." I'm like, no, shh, just watch. I'm like,
what'd you think of the flip?
It's perfect. Perfect. The top of the dwarf's head goes like just above the waist. Like you're talking like below like breast level of the human. Like it's perfect. Just it's perfect.
I love it. I love that they gave the dwarf a flip.
Every dwarf needs a flip, Sonny.
Right? Like Dwarves, should they flip? Probably
Nope.
not, but like they're
But we're doing it.
It's just baked into the lore that for some reason dwarves love flipping.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Oh, I loved it.
I feel like though it's probably a heavier flip, when they land with those. I'd be kind of concerned about their joints actually. Now that I talk about it,
it would be funny if like one out of every like 10 flips they just eat it, like just roll.
Yes, oh dude. Yes.
Right, because that would be also very dwarf.
follow
Like, they're
their
not
face.
elves, right?
Bam.
Like they're not elves. They're not acrobats.
Nope.
Every now and then they just take a header right into the dust.
That's good. That's good. Well, everybody, this was episode 50. Before we
Wait.
There's more. What I missed?
There was one last thing that came out
I'm
of
sorry.
that thing. And boy, you talk about your jaw droppers. Steven threw a massive shout out to LoreForged and particularly Cash.
Yeah.
So Cash, if you look at the Instagram and the Twitter and all that stuff for Intrepid featured Cash's chest that he sent, like a box of goodies that he sent out that included some of his pyrography. I almost said pyromancy. It's not accurate. It's pyrography. And pyrography is wood burning. And so Cash burnt in the logo of AshesOfCreation into a piece of wood. And his wife is super good at this. They go to like thrift stores and junk sales and all this stuff, and they find these just gems of items. And he found this chest and they refinished it and they put like a goat skin in it or something like that. Put this in there and they packed it with some other goodies just for fun, like fly swatters for bug smashing and, energy bars for crunch time and stuff like that. But it was largely, around this piece of pyrography and this chest. And he had the hardest time getting it to them. So he worked really hard on this thing. And then finally, when they got it, they were just like, oh my God, this thing is amazing. And so he had it behind him. Steven had it behind him the entire stream. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I see this Easter egg.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything about it. I didn't want it to be a thing until like later, so that Cash could see it and say stuff. And then when Steven at the very end dropped that thank you to him and then said that he loves the lore videos, that it just was what a moment.
Yeah.
What a moment for me, for you, for Cash, for all of us, for the community. The people in the community were freaking out.
Yeah.
It was just a blast. And the other content creators who were just so kind were all about it, and they were giving us props, and they are, truly amazing people. After the stream, I got raided by the new big swinger in town, Jay Oddity.
Oh, Jay.
Jay Oddities. Jay Oddities videos have taken off. Super nice guy.
He's a good dude.
Nice guy.
Yeah, he's from New World.
We've talked to him. I've chatted with him like on text a few times in various channels, but I think that Cash actually had like an actual conversation with him, and said that like very reasonable, very cool guy. So he just dumped like 250 people on me at the end of that thing, and I'm like, oh my God. And poor Katie does this all the time. All of our little things that like show our links and stuff with the exclamation point with the Twitch like code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know how to do any of them, so I'm like, well, look, exclamation point LoreForged. Yep, that doesn't do anything. I don't know how this works. And so I had to raid somebody after that. And so it was Q that was on, Stakeno was on, and Vladis was on, and Jamie Chaos was on. And so I drew a tarot card for a suit, and it ended up being Jamie Chaos. And so we raided him to pass it on. But it was just like, that whole day was just a great, what a great experience.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. It's the whole thing meant a lot, seeing the bard, seeing everything we got to see, the community involvement, Steven with the chest. It was just, gosh, it was a good, today was a good day, Sunny.
The day was a good day.
Yeah, it was. well, everybody, seriously, before I go further, Cash, we miss you. We love you, and be safe. Keep your eyes on a swivel,
Eyes on a swivel.
And we miss you, buddy. Please be safe. Come back to us quickly. You are very, very missed, my friend. Well, everyone, this was episode 50 of LoreForged. If you enjoyed your time here,
49 3/4.
49 3/4. Don't hit the wall, Ron, when you try to, or Harry, when you try to run into it. Hey, if you enjoy the show, let us know. Whether it's, it really does help us, truthfully, whenever you take the time. Just, you don't have to write anything. Like, when you go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and you just leave a review, it really does help the show. It helps the algorithm for people to pick us up, but also it tells other gamers, if this is a show for them. And that's what we want. We want to word of mouth. Keep growing. Keep people finding out about us. And if you enjoy the show, let us know in the comments on YouTube. And so many of you do, and you're just wonderful folk. And you can always call us, 516-875-1776. And of course, you can email us, LoreForgedHQ@gmail.com. Sunny.
Okay, so you can go to LoreForged.com. Katie, do we have a link for that? Am I just not paying attention? Or do we have a thing that actually brings up like our link tree?
I don't think we do.
I don't know if that's a thing. Who knows? I know we have a YouTube thing, and that is at youtube.com/@LoreForged, where you can find all of those videos that apparently Steven loves. It is funny because he said that, like, they don't always get the lore right, but they're looking through a keyhole. And I'm like, I'm impressed that you didn't say we mostly get the lore wrong. Because, like, I gotta be honest with you, we're making some of this up.
We're trying.
We're doing our best.
Efforting.
But some of it, I'm just like, oh boy, I hope we're close on this one, because it could be way off. But some of it is apparently good enough that the boss man thought it was pretty cool. So that's super fun. So you can, of course, check us out, youtube.com/@LoreForged. JB's got one on bards that's just crushing. The history of bards is doing extremely well. It's just a great series that those guys are rolling through. And then of course the Varen Chef is always some of our favorite stuff. Twitch, you're watching Twitch right now, or you're not. You could be watching it later. Twitch.tv/LoreForgedHQ. And JB's not wrong. Like, I have just kind of been on a streaming tear with it. More and more people ask me all the time, is like, is this Ashes of Creation? And I'll be playing a game with like a Chinese hovel that I'm building, that couldn't possibly be Ashes of Creation. Or when I was playing the game where it was just all beavers and I'm like building a society of beavers, like, is this Ashes of Creation? No, I'm not playing Ashes of Creation yet. I will eventually.
So
but we do talk a lot about Ashes of Creation during the stream. I gotta play something, people. It's Twitch. All right. And then finally, Patreon. You can find all of our content early on Patreon, and you get more than that. You get the State of the Owl, which is our once a month sort of behind the scenes special episode only for patrons, and the Happy Hour channel, which is our exclusive sort of patron only conversation channel. And we're kind of looking at Patreon. We're looking at some things in there about how we can maybe spice that up a little bit and add some flavor to that whole thing, because that's been a lot of fun. And the money that all the people that have subscribed and all that stuff through Patreon, through YouTube, through Twitch especially, we are reinvesting that into the show, and we've got some very exciting things coming up on that front, JB.
Yeah, buddy, we sure do. Well, don't forget, you can follow us on X @LoreForgedHQ, and Instagram, of course, @LoreForgedHQ, and Discord community. We had a lot of new members. I'm gonna be honest.
Are these new members, or are these from last week?
I don't know. I'm not.
It might be from last week, because I don't usually do this.
I'm not real sure. I don't either. I feel a little nervous about it. No, wait, we said Sir Pretzel last week, I think. So we're
yeah, I feel like this is a Cash thing that we just don't realize what he's doing.
This is like when you're afraid to put your toes in the bathtub water if you take a bath because you're not sure if it's scalding hot or not. Like, this is where we're at with it. Anyway, so we'll save that for Cash. But hey, we have a Discord. You can come join it. Come be a part of the community. We always say, gaming is better with friends. come join, come meet Farron fans all over the world. And of course, we have a guild that you can apply to join in there as well. The community's for everybody. Guild's not for everybody. You know, it may not suit your fancy, but hey, you're welcome to be a part of the community. We'd love to meet you. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This was, again, LoreForged, and we love you. Be safe, be well, and we will see you next week right here on the show. Take care, everybody.
Safe travels, adventurers.
Peace, love, and honeybees.
Why? Why you gotta ruin that?